98 Not Out, sponsored by Shepherd Neame, proud supporters of cricket in...
Welcome to 98 Night Out. Harry Gurney. Harry, how are you?
Hi guys, I'm well, thanks. Thanks for having me.
I know, thanks for coming on.
And good choice of music.
Good, thank you. What did Toppers go for?
He went for the Eagles, Victim of Love.
Nice.
And then he went for a disco classic that we'd never heard of. What was it called?
Bounce Rock Skate Roll by Vaughan Mason.
Have you heard of that?
No, not one I'm familiar with. I might recognise it if I heard it, but
it's one of those ones that we discovered afterwards have been sampled on lots and lots of songs. But yeah, just a very typical New York disco sounding number.
cool.
Bit
Sounds good.
bit unexpected from Toppers. We was expecting some something new and loud and banging, but there you go.
Yeah, well, maybe the oldies are coming back. You see,
I think so. And I think when you go out and about, well, before lockdown, when you went out and about, and Brett used to be DJ in bars now, I think there is an appetite for some of the older stuff that maybe young kids haven't really heard before and think, hang on, that's really good. I didn't know about that.
yeah, definitely. I mean, a lot. I reckon in the 90s and early noughties, that electro-y sort of sound that was going on in nightclubs was probably coming back from the 80s.
Yeah.
So these things come and go, don't they?
I've got to be honest, I'm hearing a lot of the new music that comes out. I don't understand how people can dance to it anyway, but it's just me giving me age away, I think.
Yeah, maybe.
Like
Just a few shots of Sambuca normally does the trick.
So Harry Gurney, Nottinghamshire and England, left arm, is it whatever you put on your Twitter profile?
All sorts. Or
Yeah,
like
left
that.
arm all sorts, yeah. But we're really pleased to have you on, and we're building a following in Nottinghamshire with Samet, who came on the show a few weeks ago, and now yourself. Just sort of looking back to sort of your recent history, 2019 was a decent year for yourself. We dug out a statistic. You were the number 2 T20 wicket taker in the world with 56 wickets, only second to Wahab Riaz. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, out of the seamers. Yeah, yeah. I mean, It was an amazing year. I was so pleased with how it went because having sort of broken into the franchise scene in late 2018, it was all new to me. And there were, I'd watched it a little bit like when I got picked for England in 2014. For the previous couple of years, I'd watched England playing that time, and then this time I'd watched franchise cricket, and I'd thought, I'm better than a lot of these blokes that are doing this, or I think I am. And so when I got my chance in franchise cricket and things did go really well, then that was quite satisfying for me because it proved to me that I was right, but B, it was just a huge amount of fun, travelling around the world.
You played for some decent
teams.
Places.
Say again?
You played for some decent teams, considering you came to it sort of so late. KKR, the Renegades, BIM Tridents in the West Indies. I mean, you would have been rubbing shoulders with some serious talent.
Yeah. I mean, really fortunate to have played in some very special teams and won a few trophies along the way. As I say, because of the fortune that I had in terms of who picked me up and the great players that I played with along the way. But it was funny. I'd never really had any franchise exposure, and then one night in, I think probably August 2018, we were playing up at Headingley. Last T20 group match in the North Group, Notts versus Yorkshire, and the winner went through to the quarterfinals, loser was out. And Dan Christian said at the toss, my captain said at the toss, that I was the best death bowler in the world. And I subsequently now know that the commentators were sort of having a laugh and a joke about it, and a few people taking a mick on Twitter or whatever, and perhaps rightly so, because there are some pretty good death bowlers out there. But whether true or not, it I think heightened awareness, and then it was a bit of a perfect storm because then that night I bowled the last over of their innings. They batted first, I bowled the last over, and I went for one run off the bat in the 20th over against Kane Williamson and Broady. And then within sort of 6 weeks of that night, I had a T10 contract, a Big Bash contract, an IPL contract, and a PSL contract. So, that was a real sort of tipping point that night. And as I say, a little bit of fortune with that as well, I suppose. When you pull a performance like that out of the bag at the right time on TV when someone says said something like that about you, you know?
In a sense, has it helped you that it's come a bit later on in your career because you understand your game that much better? You've gone there knowing what you can and can't do?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, there's a bit of an old adage that sort of goes around, particularly at T20, that youth wins your game and experience wins your comps. And I think the reasoning behind that, I guess, is the experience thing. You know, a youngster will come in and win a game by playing incredible innings or pulling off an amazing spell or whatever, and you need that. And the youngsters are the people that really drive the game forward and keep everyone improving. But at the same time,
from your
performing, go on.
From your personal point of view, what would you say have you learned from your experiences with all these different franchises?
I guess that it's just another game of cricket. I mean, that's something I've always throughout my career said to younger players when they've made a county debut. So I was sort of aware of that. But yeah, I mean, you just go over and you're into a different group, and it's just a bunch of blokes trying to make their way in the game and trying to win as many games as they can, and two sets of stumps 22 yards apart.
Do you get starstruck sometimes when you're sort of looking across the dressing room?
I did a little bit at the start, I'll be honest. When I first went to T10 and I looked around at the guys in my changing room, in other changing rooms, other dugouts, and thought, wow, this is pretty cool to be playing amongst these guys.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, we read a report in the paper this week about KKR possibly investing in the 100, and we've just been talking earlier in the show about private investment being the way forward, probably not only with the 100 but with county cricket as a whole, because things have got to change. And I think while we're in this dark tunnel of lockdown, cricket's in a pretty dark place, and there are going to be certain counties and clubs that are really going to be scratching their heads about how to go forward. What do you think about how we as a sport, as a game, emerge from this tunnel? Well,
I mean, it's a difficult one to answer. I don't have access to the ECB accounts, but certainly I think with the private investment thing, I mean, I've tweeted a couple of times in the last 2 or 3 days about it, just because it came onto my radar, and it just seems like something that's certainly worth considering. I mean, I'm sure the ECB, when they were planning the 100, did consider it at that time, and I'm sure perhaps in private it might be something that they would consider again now, but it would have its advantages, wouldn't it?
Definitely.
The domestic game here has probably operated at a loss forever. Ever since it started, I'd imagine it's essentially been a feeder to international cricket. So, if you could create some revenue via selling the franchises, then that can't necessarily be a bad thing. And also, operators like KKR, obviously the Kolkata Knight Riders, but also Trimbago Knight Riders in the Caribbean.
That's right.
Experience of 2 different franchise competitions. The marketing experience, the know-how. They're a global brand. They've got huge amounts of followers, and that would add something as well. So yeah, I mean, who knows? I think we'd be stupid not to consider it personally. It
would take pressure off the ECB as well, because a lot of counties are dependent on ECB lifelines and grants and handouts or whatever else. It does put a lot of pressure on where the ECB themselves are going to get their income from, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, and then particularly at this time, like you say, if they're sort of, was it 50 million out of? Did I read 50 million out of pocket in terms of cash in the last year or something like that? Projecting potentially a 380 million loss. If you could recoup a few million quid via private investment, why wouldn't you? I guess. I mean, you sell advertising rights on shirts, don't you? Where does it stop? No,
it will be one of those things. For a player like yourself, is white ball going to be? I know you've discussed it elsewhere. White ball's going to be the dominant force going forward, isn't it, in cricket? And for red ball to survive, it's going to be probably tough after this.
Yeah, I mean, look, Championship cricket. I'm not going to argue that that Championship cricket should be abolished based on the fact that it is not commercially viable. Just in the same way that I don't think people should argue that the 100 isn't viable because it won't make a profit necessarily in year one. Even though Tom Harrison's come out and said it will. We all know that Championship cricket and all domestic cricket really has been financed by international cricket, and in a large part Test cricket, because that is still at the moment the most popular and most probably lucrative format of the game, certainly in the UK. But that is changing. I think the problem is going to come. I mean, all the time that Test cricket exists and is going strong, then so will domestic 4-day cricket. But as soon as that starts waning, which it already has, let's be frank, then that threatens the future of the red ball game domestically as well. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I've reasonably outspoken about it on Twitter, and
best place to be outspoken about anything is on Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I just think it's the way the game's going, unfortunately, and I don't actually think there's a huge amount we could do about it. But I do think that it's going to blindside a few people. There's a lot of people sort of burying their heads in the sand. For me, all you got to do is turn the TV on and look at the crowds going to Test matches anywhere outside this country, pretty much, or Australia when we're there. That sort of says it all, really.
Well, particularly your ground at Trent Bridge. Is that a double-edged sword, do you think, being a county that's a Test venue as well? Obviously, there are benefits, but I think I read something last week about Surrey. Is it £1 million a month just to turn the lights on there or open the gates?
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Yeah.
Nottinghamshire in a similar sort of position where they have to be creative about finances and how they get their revenues?
Yeah, they are, and I think, like you say, these Test matches can be a millstone. I mean, the smaller counties moan and complain about the Test counties stealing all their players and having a load of money and all this kind of stuff, and I sympathise with that. But if you get, as Durham found out, if you get Sri Lanka in May, it can ruin you. So it's a tricky one to get right, and it's important that you have good insurance in place for Test matches finishing in 2 or 3 days, as they occasionally do, or being washed out. And as you say, other revenue streams. I think the best counties, as far as I'm aware, at that are Surrey and probably Lancashire. I think they make a huge amount out of their conferencing and concerts and all that kind of stuff as well.
They do well. Harry, question: what's the most favourite thing you like about playing cricket?
Probably the people I've met, and what it's the kind of person it has made me. I think it's just taught me so much. I always say, slightly in jest, that I'd recommend a career in professional cricket to anyone. And in terms of personal development, I think it just teaches you a work ethic. It teaches you a resilience, which I think will set me up well for future life. And I'm so fortunate to have met such a wide range of people from all around the world, different types of people and different personalities and different senses of humour, and shared some dressing rooms with legends of the game. So those personalities are the things that I will remember after playing, certainly.
You mentioned there about after playing and personality. You've actually sort of started planning what you're doing after playing, haven't you? You've got a pub venture with Stuart Broad and Dan Cramp, haven't you?
Yeah, we've got a couple of pubs up here in the sort of East Midlands. The pub company is called the Cat and Wickets Pub Company, and we've got one called the Three Crowns in Wymeswold and one called the Tap and Run in Upper Broughton. Tap and Run. That one was we couldn't change the Three Crowns name, but the second one was called the Golden Fleece when we bought it, and we changed it to the Tap and Run. You need planning permission to change pubs' names, and
getting me angry.
Managed to get that one through.
Getting me angry now because I used to run a pub called the Golden Fleece.
Really?
Not in East Broughton.
not there though. No, down in Chelmsford.
Yeah, all right. Okay, fair enough.
How are you finding the pub world? It's a bit different from cricket, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, there are crossovers between, I think, professional sport and business, but completely different. I've just learned so much. I've been in the trade now for 3.5-4 years, and it's just been, like 3 degrees all rolled into one. I've never, I did an economics degree at Leeds before I sort of embarked on my professional cricket career, and what I've learnt as a business owner would dwarf anything I learnt in those 3 years up in Leeds.
Yeah.
Mainly because I was either on a cricket pitch or in a pub. But yeah,
you go from the theory to the
great.
practice, really, don't you?
Say again.
You go from theory to practice.
Yeah, exactly. And I've loved it. I really have loved it. I'm passionate about business. I'm quite fortunate. I've found something that I love as much as cricket, if not more, in business. And I'm hoping that in life after cricket, I'll be able to build a couple of businesses. And yeah, I'm really excited about it and looking forward to it.
I've been looking at the websites. I've been looking at the websites today, and they look fantastic places to go and spend an evening. Decent menu and some good beer as well. Yeah,
we're really proud of them. I mean, it's notoriously a tricky trade to be in, but yeah, it's sort of like a challenge, really. And I guess so many people, when you're growing up as a pro sportsman, you say to people that you want to be a professional sportsman, and you get sort of laughed out or told that it's not going to happen or whatever. And I've gone on to achieve that. So why not? Why can't I go on and have success in the world of business as well?
If you've got that drive, why not?
Yeah, exactly. I've got passion. I love it, and I'm motivated, and I'm open to learning. And I've made lots of mistakes, as you do on a cricket pitch. I've made lots of mistakes already in my 3.5, 4 years in the business world. But hopefully, I can just become a stronger and better businessman for it. And by the time I'm 40, hopefully, I can reap some decent rewards from it.
Plan for a few more pubs after all this when we get back to being open?
Yeah, that's the plan at the moment. I mean, I guess a lot of it sort of hinges on the next 6 to 12 months, what government policy is, and what trade's like when we do eventually open the doors again. There's a lot of things to work through, but if we can survive this period, then yeah, I'd like to think if we get back to the level that we were trading at pre-coronavirus, that will continue to expand. And originally we said 5 in 5 years. I think 10 in 10 years, something like that. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see.
Excellent.
Go for it, Evan. And you got the team, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly.
And then you get bought out, and then you can go and sit on the beach smoking a big cigar.
Well, that's the plan. Yeah, sell it all and go and play golf.
It's funny because I've been in the trade a long while, and I think you hear the story of people, they get up to 10, 11 pubs, they sell out. But the lure of the trade is too much for people. They love it so much, it just becomes inbred in you.
You always keep one or two for yourself.
You want to get back involved in it.
Yeah. What would be lovely? The dream would be, I guess, to build a group of pubs, sell them, give yourself financial security. Yeah. And then maybe do it again. Using all the knowledge that you built up in your first venture, and knowing that you're financially secure and have another crack at it. That would be a lovely position to be in, wouldn't it?
Yeah, very good.
Are you freehold pubs, or are you on leases? And
so the first one is a tenancy or a lease with a brewery, and the second one we bought. So that's a freehold. The second one. Yeah,
it makes a big difference, doesn't it? When you're free, you've got a bit more leeway to do what you like.
Yeah, it does. It does. It's at the moment, for example, there's no rent, whereas pub number one, there's the landlord started asking for some rent, which is tricky when you're not taking any money, So, and then there's beer ties and all that kind of stuff to throw into the mix. So, freehold, ideally freehold's the way forward, but it's finding a good one that the breweries don't already own.
I've got a funny feeling after this there might be a few more on the market one way or another.
Yeah,
that's true. There might be some opportunities out there.
And Stuart, who's involved with you, Stuart, I guess he's more just the picture boy of it. I've seen a few things that you seem to be more hands-on, and he helps provide the funding and sort of the bigger name without sounding wrong there. Yeah, I think that's a fair description. You've pretty much nailed it, really. He's obviously put his hand in his pocket. He provides what's the word? Well, he's a big name, as you say, certainly a bigger name than me, and profile, that's the word. And I mean, he has input on the big decisions, but as you say, he's sort of his profile and finance and just sort of sits in the background, and that's great. We have a good working relationship. We'll have to get him on at some future point to ask him about all of this. I didn't tell Brett before we came on, but looking through your Twitter feed, I noticed you wearing an absolute rascal of a shirt, which we have found out is a Knots training shirt.
of camouflage, whatever. I haven't told you about this, Brett, but it's an absolute. And I found out where you can get them from. The online shop has got the full training range. So I'm going to treat you to a Knots, and we're going to have. I'll tell you what, in honour of the two guests...
I don't own enough bad shirts.
No, this is actually quite decent. I was saying to Harry this morning when we were chatting that it's something I quite happily wear about, and I don't care if it's got a Knots badge on it, because we are cricket fans. We're not necessarily biased to anyone in particular. But given that we've had two superb Knots guests on, I'll get one with... Harry's name and number on it, and we'll get another one with Samet's name and number, and we shall get a picture taken with in the Phoenix
great.
FM studio, and you Nottingham boys can have a good old laugh about that.
They'll certainly point out we're more Samet shaped than Harry shaped anyway.
I didn't say that.
That much is for sure.
Hey, you have to work hard to achieve that shape.
I always say I've got a body of a god. It's Buddha. You don't get fit by me just not visiting the fridge 15 times a day at the moment.
Look, something to aspire to after I've finished playing cricket, isn't it?
It's not, honestly.
When this is all over, are we going to have a pint with you boys up at the Tap and Run or the Three Crowns?
Yeah, sounds good. Whenever you're in the area, let us know.
We'll definitely have to try and get involved in a bit more cricket. Harry, thank you very much for your time. It's been a great pleasure for you to join us here on 98 Not Out. And keep well, and hopefully we'll watch you taking a few wickets again very, very soon.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Cheers, Harry. Thanks a lot.
so much.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye-bye.
Cheers.